in New York City, some 1,200 police officers were set to begin wearing body cameras this month. It was part of a court-approved pilot program by a federal monitor overseeing changes to the NYPD's Stop and Frisk program. A federal judge ordered the NYPD to wear body cameras as part of a 2013 ruling that found the department was wrongly targeting people of color. But civil liberties lawyers and attorneys for police unions representing captains, lieutenants, and detectives are planning to challenge the ruling this week, saying the policy is flawed and would mean more work for supervisors. It is cases like these, a 2014 choking death of Eric Garner at the hands of police, along with other cases such as the police killing of Michael Brown and other deaths of black men, that led to nationwide protests and calls for officers to be issued cameras to stop misconduct and document shootings and other encounters. Barry Friedman of the NYU's Police Policy Project worked on the NYPD plan and thinks this will help.
The view is that just having the camera on the officer leads both officers and the public to temper their relationships, to act more calmly.
But now the original plan to put body cameras on all of New York's 23,000 officers may be on hold. Joining us now talking about this via FaceTime from Newark, New Jersey, is DeLacy Davis, founder of Black Cops Against Police Brutality. DeLacy, again, this is one of those examples where cops are saying it's going to be too much work.
Yes, unfortunately, the union is doing what unions do, not necessarily protect the interests of the public and the community, but the interests of the police officers who pay their salaries very often. They're saying it's too much work for them to do, which leads me to question their commitment to the community and improving the relationships. Let's remember that stop and frisk and the striking it down by a federal judge is the reason that we're at this point of needing cameras on police officers to begin with, and they're necessary.
This reminds me of what happened in Boston, where the police union there said to the officers, don't wear any body cameras. But we've seen in other departments where there's been a serious drop in the number of police misconduct charges filed against cops. So body cameras have actually helped police officers and the public.
Of course it helps police officers. You know, when we were on with you before, we talked about that. If, in fact, we go to body cameras, you'll see a marked decline in complaints against police officers because they'll be on their best behavior. In fact, the civil liberties unions, lawyers, civil rights lawyers that are suing because they want this to go even further. You know, the balance is between the transparency and accountability of police officers versus unnecessary surveillance of the public. So certainly we want the public to feel safe, and so I read some of the policy that New York proposed as a draft, and it does protect those who are sex crime victims and of that nature, but we think it should be on more often than not and not give the officer discretion, because what's going to happen, as we've seen in other places, where you might have 40 or 50 complaints where officers were in physical confrontations and the camera malfunctioned, it failed, or the catch-all is, I wasn't safe enough to activate the camera, which is a catch-all when police officers use deadly force on unarmed people. All
right, DeLacy Davis, we appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roland.
I'm going to go to our panel here, Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeaver, Brandon Cooper, and Rena Shaw-Brower. Folks, again, we see officers. They don't want any sort of accountability. At all.
No, they don't. They really want to live in a lawless police state, in essence, and it's very disturbing because, on the one hand, if we have these tools used properly, they can definitely help to protect the public. But the challenge is, if you do it in the way in which they are pushing to do it, I mean, they're trying to delay it, but if they have it, they want to have broad discretion over when they can and can't turn it on, and if that's going to be the way they use it, you might as well not have it at all.
Yeah, the devil's in the details, and I want to say, you know, not all cops. There are some cops who actually support using police body cameras, but I agree it needs to be used more often than not. And I think, you know, the labor unions, as he pointed out, have their own interests in mind, but then there also are some legitimate civil liberties concerns as far
like
as
what?
Police surveillance state. I'm not saying on this. I think they need to move forward with the New York plan. They need to have it everywhere, but making sure it's done properly, as he mentioned on there, making sure that sex crime victims are protected in that. So I'm not saying that's an issue right here. Okay, I'm just saying that's in general. But this police union's issue is not legitimate.
If you come against a sex crime victim, that tape can be quarantined.
No, I agree, and that's what
this is not that hard.
And I'm agreeing. Devil's in details. I'm agreeing that that plan needs to go forward that makes sure it's protected. I'm in favor of them.
Key. Transparency is absolutely key here. And I'm confused by this because I think these body cameras can protect officers, actually. You know, in this age of technology where somebody can turn on their phone and live stream right away when a cop is approaching them, this gives officers a chance to say, look, I wasn't doing anything wrong. I'm running by the book. So I'm really confused as to why more officers don't support it. And, you know, look, good actors get protected. And that's what can happen here.
Yeah. More officers are not going to speak up about this because, again, they don't want all of their actions recorded. They want to be able, after the fact, to fudge, to lie, to cover up, to have their buddies say, oh, no. We're going to all agree on what happened because the video's not going to lie.
That's been culture for a very long time, but I think they need to wise up and get with the technology. Nowadays, everything's recorded, even in workplaces. So why shouldn't, you know, that translate to law enforcement? It should. We need to hold them accountable.
And don't let the fox guard the in-house. You shouldn't be letting labor unions, you know, dictate the policy of the body cameras.
But see, but that's part of the problem.
I agree.
Part of the problem that we have in the country with police accountability is that the contracts in these cities give those unions so much power.
Exactly. I mean, the police labor unions are just drunk with power, and they will do any and everything, I believe, to protect criminal actions by policemen. And this is just another one. If you are, you're exactly right. If you are acting as you should have nothing to hide. It should be in your interest to have your actions recorded. But if you want to act in a lawless manner, if you want to act in a murderous manner, then this is something that you want to delay and that you want to stop. And that's exactly why they're not wanting to push forward with this.
A peaceful protest turned deadly. 37-year-old black man was shot and killed by Baton Rouge police. His hands are in the air, and you still get shot by the cops.
Oh my God, please don't tell me he's dead.
We're not going to let hate define us.
Race is a big part of this.
If truly all lives matter, then all lives need to matter equally.
What we require is action. What we require is accountability. We understand that black lives do matter, and we will keep focused on this issue.
NewsOne Now, every weekday morning at 7 on TV1.